Yeah, recording started. And the installation of IDE, I think this is not needed for us for now because we're not going to work on IDE, we are going to work on Selenium WebDriver. So I'll just ignore this installation of IDE. I'll share this notes to you. You can try this once. This is an extension of Selenium, which is coming on browser. Okay, I'll that is one. So I'll skip this for now. So installation of Java and installation of Eclipse, configuration of environment variables. I think we are already running our pre-setup class, right? Installation of IDE is done in everybody's machine. Eclipse. Now let us go with working with Java. All right. So we have installed this Eclipse. These are all my old codes. Let me close this project so that I can create more. All right. So I'm creating a new project. I think we have already created a new project on all your machines, right? Or we are in a place to create a project. Once you open the Eclipse, if you want to create a project, you can go to File, New, and then you can click on Project. I think for you, see some other options here. You can also select Java or any other project if you see them directly. If you don't see, just click on Project, and then I'm going to click on Java for now. Maven we'll see a little later. For now, let's go with Java project. Okay. Click on Java project. Next. See, this is the name which we have to give for the project. What project are we working on? So this can be any name. I'll say I'll give this as Bobby Talks. Okay. And then here, if you have multiple versions of Java installed on your machine, you can select any of the particular Java version. But I would suggest to have only one version so that it doesn't create any problems. Okay. So anyway, in all your machines, we have only one version. So you can leave it as it is if it is showing the correct version. Sometimes what will happen is, though we have Java version 16, 15 or 14, it will show as 1.8. That is the case. You have to change this to the correct version. In my machine, 15 is the last version, so I'm having 15. And I believe two of you have version 16. So if you have 16 displayed here, please select 16. Otherwise, leave it as 15. Or you can use default JRE JD. Third radio button. Okay. Please select this and click on. I don't want to create any information, so I'm just not creating it. All right. See, the project is created now with the JDK libraries. Since we have selected
Nikhil, you didn't even give a create. You give don't create, but still it is creating.
Sorry.
You didn't click the create one. You just did don't create, but still it is.
That is different. That is different. I said that is for creating module info.java some file. I don't want to create that file. That is an extra thing.
Okay.
Now these are the things that we have. One is JRE system library and source. So this is the place where we have installed Java in our machine, and that Java needs to be accessible. That is why we set some environment variables in your machine. So with the help of those things, any tools or any applications can access Java. So that is from where this Eclipse is able to access JRE libraries. You see all the JRE libraries, those DLLs and jar files, whatever is present in your machine will come to here. All the JDK files or JRE files. Okay, so inside this Java related code will be there. These are all packages which are related to Java. So with the help of this, with this, we are now on the Java project. And you see there is a folder called SRC. This is the place where we actually write code. Okay. So I have already selected, there was already a workspace in my machine. So I chose the same workspace, and inside the same workspace, there is a folder. So whatever the project you created here, that project will have a folder structure in your workspace. Let me show that. Inside this workspace, you see Bobby Batch folder is created. This is a project. And inside this, you see bin and source, two folders. This bin folder will not be shown in your Eclipse. See, there is no bin folder here, only source folder is there. Then here a source folder will be there. Currently it is empty because we did not write any code. So that is why the source folder is empty. And these two files are related to Eclipse project. To tell that this is a project folder, we have .project, and to link this source to the bin and some other properties, we have this .class path. That those are created by Eclipse directly. We don't have to worry about these two things. I'm just showing you the folder structure. Okay. Whenever you write some code, whenever you do some changes, that will be happening inside this folder, inside the workspace, inside your project folder. Okay. Now you see there is no files or folders in source folder. So that is why here also source is empty. Okay. Now to write some code, we need some editor or we need some editable place. You see now, if I select the source, I won't be able to write anything here. This is disabled. So if you want anything to be written in Java, that should be written in that Java files. Okay. So write that. Just right click on the pack. This is the source folder. Just right click on this folder, click on new, select package. Okay, or you can directly select class, but it will come with a default package. Let me show you. I'll select a class. You see this package is empty. There is no package here. So by default, it is going to take a default package. Let me show you. Just for default. I just click finish. You see, a default package is created in Java. We need to write any code inside of packages. We should never use default packages. You'll understand why should we never use default packages a little later when we have object-oriented programming concepts. Okay, just for now, you remember we cannot use or we cannot write Java classes without packages. Though default package can be used, but it is not suggested to use. Why? We'll learn a little later. Okay, so please do not use these default packages. You should have your own package. Okay, so let me create a package. I'll remove this. I'll create a new package, or I can select class, and here itself I can give the package information. If you don't give, it will go with default. If you give, it will come with that particular package. So package is nothing but a folder structure. Okay. See, a single project might have multiple modules. Right. I don't want to merge all my modules in a single folder. I don't want to keep all of them in a single folder. For example, I'm working on some of the project. If there are multiple sprints, so will you keep all the sprint results in the same folder? All right.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we create separate folders. The same way, we are in the project, we are going to write lots and lots of code. with respect to different modules. So I don't want to club them all. So in order to divide them into separate folders, we use packages. Okay. The naming convention for these packages should be the reversal of your application URL plus module name, and everything should be in lowercase letter. Package name should be in lowercase letter only. We will not use any other cases. Okay. So form dot, this is Bobby Batch dot Java. So we are going to, since we are going to learn Java, I'm giving this. So we do not have an organization or we do not have an application. We are just learning, right? So you can give any name. It's not a problem. See, I can Nikhil package. This is also fine, but in real world or in real time, every project will follow the naming conventions of packages with all lowercase letters, and it should be the reversal of the application URL plus module. Like for example, if we are working on Facebook or if we are working on WhatsApp, then our application will be, our package naming convention looks like com.facebook. This is the application universal URL facebook.com, but we are using com.facebook. Okay. And in Facebook, for suppose I am working on games module, com.facebook.games, and later I'll be working on what do we say, that dashboard module. So like this, we will use whatever the module you have, you will give that in the end, and then in the beginning you will have these things. Reversal of URL. So this is the naming conventions that we generally follow in real world. All the developers use the same naming convention, so we will also use the same naming convention. Okay, so that it will make anybody easy to understand by following some naming conventions. Okay, this is a package, this is a class, this is a method. So like that, we have some naming conventions that we should follow, and you should get accustomed with them from the beginning. Okay. On dot Java. Now this is a package. That means this is a folder structure that I want to create. In this folder structure, I want to write my Java. So here is a class name. Okay, here is a name where you have to give your class name. So this can say intro to Java. This is a Java class 1 C1 underscore intro to Java. And you see these modifiers, we'll learn a little later. What is this public, what is this package, what is private, protected, abstract, final, all these things we are going to learn. These are all the keywords of Java. We are going to learn a little later. Okay. There are some checkboxes over here. You see this public static void main. I need this main method. I'll just select this main method. I'll click finish. Now a class will be created. But before creating a class, I need to tell you some more things here. So as I said, this package should be in all lowercase letters, but it is not restricting you to have capital letters. See, it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say anything. It is not a problem. You don't see any error, or if you don't see any warning here, you can still use them. But normally, the naming convention, the standard approach that any user in the world is using Java follows the lowercase letters. So we should follow this. Okay. Now, this package name can have numerics inside it. See, I can have Bobby Batch 1, I can have Java 2, I can have COM 1, 2, 3. You see, I'm able to have numerics inside the package name, but there is a condition. These numerics should not be in the beginning. You see, when I add 1 in the beginning of this package name, you see, one com is not a valid Java identifier. You cannot have any of these words starting with numerics. Let me remove this one. See, to Bobby Batch one. So any of the folder name or any of the package should not start with numerics, but it can have. You can have the numeric values anywhere placed, but not in the beginning of the names. This each one is a folder. Com is a folder, Bobby Batch is a folder, and Java is a folder, which will be created once we create this. Okay, so you can have numerics, but not in the beginning. Okay, and we can also have special characters, but only two special characters are allowed. That is underscore and dollar. See, no issues for dollar. You can have it in between also, no problem. Okay. Now, if I add hashtag, you see, hashtag is not a valid identifier. Suppose I want to use percentile, it's not allowed. I want to use ampersand, not a valid identifier. You can see here, right? So we cannot use any other special characters except underscore or dollar. Only these two can be used in Java package names. Okay, but generally we don't use these underscore and dollar symbols in packages. But I'm just letting you know that only these two will be used. Right. Similarly, like I said, these are the naming conventions of package. Similarly, we should follow some naming conventions for the class names as well. Here I said everything should be in small letters or lowercase letters. For class names, it should start with uppercase letter. For suppose if I say Nikhil, you see there is a warning on the top. Type name is discouraged by convention. So this is the standard practice that Java type name usually start with an uppercase letter. You see in the top, this is warning. So we have to start with uppercase letters. So always class names should start with uppercase letters. So that is why I created with the uppercase letters. C1. You can see that numerics can be added into the class names. Underscore can be used. Intro to Java. Generally, the naming conventions that we follow for class is every consecutive word. Intro is a separate word, to is a separate word, and Java is a separate word. So every consecutive word should start with uppercase letter. The class name should start with uppercase letter, and every consecutive word should have the starting letter as uppercase letter. So that is the naming convention that we follow. And here also we can use numerics, no problem, but you cannot have numerics in the beginning. See, when I add one in the beginning of the class name, it will not allow me. Numerics or special characters cannot be in the beginning. It should be always alphabet. Starting letter should be always alphabet. And the only special characters that are allowed are underscore and dollar. Underscore and dollar. Generally, this is allowed. It is showing as a warning, but if I use any other things, you see, it shows an error. This cannot be used because dollar is allowed, but generally it is not. Doesn't encourage you to use this dollar. So why we use this underscore and dollar? Why these special privileges to these two items is if you want to have a class name which is completely having different words and you want to add them. For example, intro to Java is continuous word. I'll say Java introduction. So now you see Java and introduction are completely different. Now if you separate them, Java space introduction. So this space is not allowed because space is also a special character. So this space is also not allowed inside a class name. You cannot have spaces on the class name. So to replace these spaces, you can have underscore. That is the reason the special privilege is given to underscore. And what is the reason we have dollar? Because sometimes or most of the applications and most of the times we have to deal with money. Right? When you are dealing with money or you are writing some classes, you are writing some functionality which is related to financial transactions, and you want to understand that okay, this is related to the transactions, this is related to money, then you can have this dollar symbol. Otherwise, it is not needed. Even for those things, it is not mandatory to use. But if you want to specify them that these are related or these classes are handling money related functionality, then you can use this dollar. Otherwise, it's not. All right. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes, Nikhil.
Yes.
All right. So now we have created a package name. I mean, we didn't create the package yet, but we just set the name. We just give name for our package, and we are giving a name for our class. And then we didn't do any other changes over here because we need a public class. And then I'm selecting public static void main. This checkbox needs to be selected because I'll tell you this. Please select this and click on finish. Once you click on finish, package and class is created. You see here com.copybatch.java, and then there is a class called intro to Java. You see, in each class which we are writing inside a package, this will be mentioned so that this class understands that this class is inside this package. Okay, this also will understand when we are going to object-oriented programming concepts. Why we need this package? Why should we mention this package? Okay. All right. Now let us go a little back and see inside our folders. Right. Till now, when I open this source folder, it was empty. But now, do you see a com folder? So this com is this com, and then inside it, Bobby Batch, and inside it, Java. Okay. You see, this is com, and inside it we have Bobby Batch, and inside it we are having Java module. Inside this Java module, we have all the classes.
Oh, sorry, Nikhil. So do we have to always start with com dot, or like it just depends?
It is not mandatory. You can give your name Yanji. If you want
Oh,
the
okay.
package name as Yanji, you can give it. It's not a problem. But normally, we follow this naming convention. That is the reversal of URL plus module name. So, for suppose if we have a application bobbybatch.com, so we use this reversal com.bobbybatch.
Oh, okay. So in real life, in real time, we'll use that's how we use. You mean to say, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Everybody in the world, every Java developer or every tester who's using Selenium will follow this naming convention because there are some standard things that we should follow.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
So that's it. But it is not mandatory to have only this way. You can have any name. Yes, Bobby, please go ahead. Hello, Bobby. I think you're speaking on mute.
Yeah, Nikhil. Suppose
Yeah.
if you are using Internet Explorer or Google or a web browser, Edge browser to validate, so I have to start with com.google, like whatever are my office project or Google.
So if you are working for Chrome, in Google we have multiple modules. If you are working for Chrome project, then you use com.chrome.
Okay.
Of course. Oh, sorry.
Am I clear?
Yeah.
So whatever the application, it is not mandatory, but whatever the application you are working, or suppose if you are working for Facebook or you are working for YouTube, then you can say com.youtube. and then your module, videos, short clippings, or monetary transactions on YouTube, advertisements. You can have different modules, right? Subscriptions, channels, whatever module you are working, you will need that module.
Okay, how about like let's say Facebook, right? So it will like pop up like HTTP, like with the slash and
No,
facebook.com. So
yeah, you can ignore this HTTP. All those are all your browser protocols. You can
okay.
concentrate only on the URL part. Even if I
Okay.
open,
Mhm.
even if I open Facebook, you don't see that HTTP or HTTPS. You see this? So you will see only facebook.com. But when I click on it or when I see this, you'll see that protocol. This is your application URL, facebook.com. Okay. This protocol, whatever you are seeing here, HTTP or HTTPS, that is to secure your link. If it is HTTPS, that connection is secure. If you are seeing only HTTP, that connection is not secure. There will be chances for hacking.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the reason we don't worry about this. This will be common for all the websites. You can take or you can concentrate only on the application part, facebook.com. Okay. So that's about package creation and class creation. Now let's go back to our topic. See, we have COM, Bobby Batch, and Java. So for each of this dot, for each of this name, a folder will be created inside your source folder. See, in source, there is a COM folder, there is a Bobby Batch folder, and there is Java folder, and inside Java you have a class. Because com.bobbybatch.java, this is a folder structure, which is nothing but a package. This is a folder structure I want to create, and inside this last folder, inside this Java folder, I have this file. So that is what is being displayed on this folder structure in your workspace. Okay. So if you want to see your code in your workspace, then you have to go to that particular package path and then see it. See com.bobbybatch.java. Inside this Java folder, I have this class. Okay. Right. Now, if I go back to bin folder, you see the same folder structure will be created. Com, Bobby Batch, Java. But if you see here, the extension for the file that we have written is .class. See, this is .class. And this type is class file. Okay. So let me go back to the source folder and show you this. This is Java file and this extension is .java. So like I said, in our previous session or in our previous thing when we connected, we discussed right, that this Java, whatever you are installing in your machine, the JRE is helping, or JVM is helping your machine to understand the code that we write inside this Java class. How? By converting or by translating this human understandable English language into binary form or some other language which is understandable by your machine. So Eclipse has a feature that when you write some code and save it, it will automatically compile. That means it will automatically convert or change this code into machine understandable language and store in a file. Those files will be present inside your bin folder. Bobby Batch bin. Com and the same, whatever the folder structure you are following in your source, the same folder structure will be followed. And for every file you create in your source folder, it will convert equivalent class file and place it here. This class file cannot be understandable, cannot be understood by us. If I open it also, we won't be able to understand anything. Let me show you. See, this is what we wrote. No, right? We would be able to understand this binary or converted language. But if I open our .java file, I can open our .java file also. source of Bobby Bash Java. Now I'll open it. You will see it, whatever we wrote. You see, whatever is present in your Eclipse class, package, public, void, main, and there is a commit. You see the same thing is present over here. So you can, I mean, humans can understand the code which is inside a .java file. Every line of code that you write will be written inside these classes, and classes by default will have the extension of .java. Because we are working on Java project, it will be ended with .java. Okay, so these are all some files. Since you are ETL testers, you might understand when you write some queries to execute or to get the data from database, if you want to save those queries, it will be saved in .sql format, right? If it is MS SQL, it will be stored in .sql format. Agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So in a similar way, this is a Java code, so that is why it is storing in .java format. But each .java file, this is a human understandable and plain English language. This cannot be understood by our systems to compile and to run. So that is why your Eclipse IDE will auto compile these things with the help of JVM. JVM will compile this code and make it machine understandable. We cannot open it, we cannot see it. Even if we see it, we'll see some random characters. Okay, so that is bin folder inside your project. So you understood what is this folder structure? Basic. Source is a place where you have your actual code, and bin is the folder where equivalent binary code of each item in your source folder will be created in bin. So that is this folder structure. So whenever you want to, if you are not having Eclipse and you want to see your code, then you can go to the source folder, go to that particular path, open them with any of the editor like Notepad, Notepad++, anything. Okay, if it is iOS, you can open it with Pages or Notes. Right, so that is a folder structure. We also learned about the naming conventions. Yeah. Okay, now let us see some basic code. Back to the notes. Okay, so what is a workspace? This we already discussed. A workspace is a location where we store all our future code or future information that we are working on. And then what is this folder path? You can give anything and then assign name. Yeah, this is how to create workspace. We already dealt with it. And how to create a class. Right click on the project, go to new, click on class. That's what we did, right? Right click on this project, new, and you can click on class. Or we have a package or source folder, right click on this folder, go to new, click on class. Anywhere. Okay. Yeah. So what is a class file? Class file is a where our actual program is being developed. And in one class file we can have, yeah, this is one other point. So you see here, this is one of the .java file, which is C1 intro to Java. This is a single class. Okay. Now inside this, we can have any number of classes. Demo inside class. You can also create multiple classes inside a class. Inside one file, you can have multiple classes. This is one class and this is another class. Right? If I save it, there is no issues. You can still have, in one .java extension file or one class file, you can have any number of classes. Yes, Bobby.
So only main classes have the naming construction when we are creating. After that, we can give whatever we want to give. For example, the public class only have the naming convention. After the class, we don't have any.
You should also follow the naming convention here. It should start with the demo, but it is not mandatory. So I just wrote. Anyway, I'm going to delete it, right? So demo, the we should follow same naming convention anywhere whenever you create a class. But since I'm going to delete it just for your just so I wrote some random text. Okay. So in a single .java file or in a single class, you can have any number of classes. This is one class, this is second class, and then you can have any other. Okay.
So all the class will follow this thing, right? The public class,
No,
public static void,
no,
void,
I'll tell you.
those.
We'll go there, but now we are only here. We understood what is package in system folder structure, and now we are dealing with the classes. Once we go to this level, once we go to this line, I'll tell you why we should use this and whether we should, how many times should we have this. Okay. Right. So public we'll see it later when we are dealing with access modifiers, but let us do the basic things. So for now, you can ignore this public. You see this class and C1 intro to Java is one class, class demo dummy class is the second class, and class demo dummy is the third, demo dummy third class is the third class. So we have total 3 classes inside a single .java file. You can create any number of classes inside a single .java file. But there is one rule. You can have only one public class per .java file. That means per class file, you can have only one public class. For each class, you can have only one public class. If I give public here as well, it will throw me an error saying that you should place this inside in its own file, because this is not its own file. What is the file name here? Intro to Java. So we already have a public class here, C1 intro to Java. So if you want to make this class as a public, then you have to keep it in its own file. That means you have to create another file and then place it there. Okay, I don't want it, so I just have it. Now you see, in a single C1 intro to Java, I have 1, 2, and 3 classes in our source folder, right? When compiling this, or when your Eclipse compiles, when we are saving, it will automatically compile. So when this is being compiled, it will create 3 different files. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So let us see that inside your big folder. Catch Java. Did I create these 3 different files? No. But you see, .class extensions, we have 3 different things. But if you see in your source folder, you'll have only one. Source catch Java. Only one. Right? So though we are writing these classes inside the same file, inside the same class file, these will be treated as separate classes by your Java. Understood? 2 things we have learned here. You can write any number of classes inside a single file, because anyway Java is going to understand them as separate things, separate classes. Second thing, you can have only one public class per file. You cannot have multiple public classes. If you want to declare some class as public, then you have to create its own file. That means it should have the file name. So you see here, C1 intro to Java is the file name that I gave. That is the same name I'm using for class. Okay. So if you want to have this as public, then you have to create a class with this name. Right? Any questions? Yeah. All right. So this is okay. Now let me remove this, because I don't want this. I don't want to have multiple classes for now. Remember all these small points, because these might be helpful for you in your interviews or when you write some system tests. If they have some objective type of questions, they might ask you how many class files you have. These are all small questions, but we don't know. Right. Yes, Yanji, please go ahead.
So like Is there like any like difference between public class and class?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. But we'll learn it a little later because this
Oh,
public
okay.
is an access specifier keyword. Without understanding the basic things, we cannot go to the access specifiers class. So that is why I'm skipping it for now. There is separate section, or there is a separate topic called access specifiers. In that topic, you can understand. You will understand. Okay.
Okay,
So
cool. Thank
this access specifier. You see here access modifiers. So this is the place where you'll understand what is public and why do we have public and non-public. Okay. So if you want to see those, if you want to understand those things, then we have to complete all these topics. Okay. All right. So don't worry, I will not miss any of these things. We'll cover all this. What is this public? What is this static? What is this void? And then what are these? Everything we are going to cover, but you have to be patient. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to the notes. Every class must be under a package. If you don't create any package, what will happen? Come on, what will happen if you don't create a package? We have seen just now.
The class will not be created.
No, it will be created. We have created already.
you. It will not understand, I think.
It will be placed under a default package, which is not suggestible. We have created, right?
Okay. Yeah, correct. Yeah. But he said he never create a default package.
Exactly. If you don't have this, it will be created under default. See, a default package is created if I don't give a package name, but this is not suggestible to use. We will never use default packages. So I have shown in the beginning, just before creating this package. Okay. So if you don't give a package name for any class, it will be created under default package. But we should not use default packages. Even when you are writing, just a second, I'll show you that error. See, the use of default package is discouraged. You see that warning? Though it allows, we should not use this default package. Java itself, because that is the standard convention, or that's the standard that every developer in the world follows.
But by if mistakenly we have created, we can delete, right, from the root.
If we can create a sub, yeah, we can delete it. So suppose I'm creating this. If you have it, you cannot change the name of this default package. Either you have to cut this class and paste it inside another package. Okay, you can remove this class from here. Copy and paste it here so that it will be inside a package. You see, it is created inside a package. Or if you don't want that class itself, you can just directly delete it. See, delete this Java file. Yes, I want to delete it. Or right, so like that. So we should not use default packages. All right. Those all things that we have seen, and the class names can be alphanumeric and must start with an uppercase letter, and the name cannot be started with numerics. These things we have seen. It can have only underscore and dollar, and then it can be started with special characters. However, we do not prefer it. That means the class name, when you are creating this class name, you can have this underscore or dollar in the beginning, but we just don't use it. See, I can use dollar class sample. I can have this dollar. You see, it is just a warning. Okay, I can have this, but what is it saying? You see, the type name is discouraged. By convention, Java type names usually don't contain the dollar character. Okay, let me start with underscore. See, it allows to have special characters in the beginning. It doesn't allow numerics in the beginning. It allows alphabets in the beginning. Okay, you cannot have spaces in between the class. So these all things we have seen. Same things that are mentioned here. Okay. Every class file is a .java extension file. We have discussed it. To execute the class, you must create a main method. Yeah. Now let's go into the. Now, see, like I said, we can have multiple classes. Just before we wrote multiple classes here, right? See, we have multiple classes. Now, when you execute this code, when you write something and when you want to execute, when you run this as Java application, your JVM should understand from where it should start, right? Should it start from this line? Should it start from this line, or should it start from here? Should it start from here, or should it start from here? Your JVM should know from where it should start executing. So, to help JVM understand where the execution should start, we have this main method. Without this main method, your code will not be executed. That might be compiled, but it will not be executed and you won't see any. For example, I'll write a sample code which is a printout statement. In SQL, not sure what you use, select. And if you use select query, what will happen? You will get, you will fetch all the results and print in the console or some place the results. You will see the table results. So similarly, if you want to print something from Java, you have to use this statement. System.out.println. This is the naming convention, or this is the thing that you have to. Okay. So here I can print anything. Welcome to day 1 session. I can have anything. You can write anything, whichever you want to print. Okay. Now you see this is all not clearly formatted. This is going here and there. So if you want to format this, there is a shortcut. Select the code you want to format. Control A. Then press Control Shift and F. You see, it will be looking nice with the indentations. So Control A will select everything. Pressing Control Shift and F will have this code formatted. Okay.
Does it throw any intent error like Python? If
No,
I
it
write
doesn't
the
throw.
program.
It doesn't throw. It doesn't throw. Yeah, it doesn't throw any indentation error because we don't follow indentation in Python. Like you said,
Okay.
indentation is the only thing that will make Python understand this is if block, this is else block, and this is while block. With the help of indentation only, it will create blocks. But here in
Correct.
Java, with the help of these braces, it will create blocks. So whatever is inside these braces, it is a block of code. So you don't have to follow the indentation, but just for our user convenience to understand that, okay, this belongs to this block, this belongs to this block, and to see it clearly and understand it clearly, we follow this format. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That system.out, did you do the control F or when you type S, it's S itself?
That is another, yeah, that is another shortcut. Okay. So if you want this Eclipse, you can write this Java code in your notepad also. But why we go with Eclipse IDE or any other IDEs which are available like IntelliJ, STS or any other IDEs? Because we have plenty of options. You see, there are many icons here. This Eclipse also comes with predefined shortcuts. Like if I want to print this, I have to write system.out.println. But there is a shortcut which is created already. You just type SYSO and press Control space. You will see the IntelliSense. Just press enter. It will auto complete the code. Auto completion. Okay. Control.
So
space.
only if I do syswo only, it is taking IntelliSense. If I do yes and Control F or something, it will not give me the command.
It will give, but it will give all the other things. You see, we are not going to deal with this which is synchronized, this is error.
SY, if I put SY,
you will get all related to SY, and SYSO you will get because generally we also call it as SYSO statement.
Okay. Control space, correct?
Yes, control and space.
Okay.
See the results and then press enter, and that will auto fill the statement.
Can you add the shortcuts and all in your notes before you said
Yes, it is
control?
already there.
This is okay.
So control space, and this is for printing. I'm just explaining one by one. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
So now there is one CISO statement over here, okay, inside the main method, right? And then I'm going to have another CISO statement, okay. Inside the class I cannot write it. So I'll create one method. We'll discuss this later, but I'll just I want to show this, some method, and then I'll have a CISO statement here. This is add method in class 1. Control shift F. Okay. Now if I execute this, there are two printout statements. This is one and this is one, right?
So in the class demo dummy class, again you are putting public void.
This is some other concept. Just to have this ISO statement written without any error inside this class, I added a method. These methods we'll discuss later.
Okay.
First, let us concentrate on main method. Okay. We have this. Okay, let me show you. Here I do not have any method, but if I have this ISO statement directly written inside a class, it will throw me an error. You see, it will not allow me to write ISO statement inside a class directly. That is the reason I had to add a method called add. Okay, just for
So
showing.
package is a main folder, class is a subfolder. In
Class is
class.
not class is not a subfolder. Class is a file.
Oh,
Class
okay.
is a file where we are writing our actual code.
Okay. So inside the class only we are writing whatever the program we want to write.
Exactly. Suppose if I
File,
open this
okay.
notepad, I have multiple things, right? This is a class. You can have multiple files, multiple notepads. Similarly, you can have multiple classes here. But for all these notepads, I can store it in a particular place, right? I have to follow some folder structure. Here I want to store it. For example, if I take this, you have this. Can you see my notepad complete screen? You see this? This is giving the path, users to desktop and all this. So this is a place where I have this file saved. In a similar way, this will be saved inside this. You see, Bobby Batch source, com Bobby Batch Java C1 intro to Java. So this folder structure is this com.bobbybatch.java, and this is your class name. Okay, inside a class, we can write our code. Without a class, you cannot write a code.
So the code you are calling out as method. Is it?
This is all code. This is all code, right?
No,
We
no, no.
created
Inside the class, whatever you are writing out is
yeah. This one. This is a main method which is inside a class, and this is an add method which is inside demo dummy class. Okay, and this is a statement that I want to print from main method, and this is a demo dummy statement which is present inside the add method. Now, if I run this, you will see only one statement printed. See execution completed, and you see only one. Welcome to day 1 session, which is from the main method, right? Is it printing? This is add method in dummy class 1.
No.
No, because Java, in Java, your compiler will understand from where to start execution with the help of this main method. The purpose of this main method is to show the starting point of execution. Okay, so whatever is present inside this main method, that will be executed. So what is present inside this main method? This one. So that is why only this got executed. This will not get executed for now. But then if it is not going to get executed, then why should we write here? Because we have other options. Like if you want to make this statement execute, then you have to create an object for this class inside this main method and call this method. For now, we didn't go till that level, so just ignore. But you understood, right? What is the purpose of main method? Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
So the purpose of main method is to show your JVM from where to start execution and what to execute. Whatever is present inside the main method, it will execute. Okay, whatever you write, whatever the code you write, it will start. Okay. So that's Java. See, the main method is a reusable. A method is a reusable code block, but main method is used only for execution purpose. There might be this statement I have written here because there might be some questions to you asking, is main method reusable? No. Actually, we create methods to reuse some code that we'll see when we discuss about methods, but they'll have some question. You will get some question that is main method reusable? Main method is not reusable. We cannot call this main method from any other class because the purpose of main method is to show the JVM where to start the execution and what to execute. Okay, so main method is not reusable. You cannot call this main method from any other class. Inside of a main method, whatever we write, that will be executed. Okay, that we have seen. And to create main method, select public static void main checkbox while you are creating the class. While we are creating the class, you can just select this checkbox or you can directly write this code. This is a syntax. It should be public, it should be static, and it doesn't return anything. And the name should be main with a lowercase letter, and it should have the arguments as string array arguments. So this naming convention you have to use to make the JVM understand that it is a main method. Is that clear? All right. Now we have seen CISO statement and we have seen the control space, and you can see the printout in the console that we have seen just printed in the console. Now let us discuss some basic things about commenting and uncommenting and all those things. Okay. So since you already write SQL queries, you might understand what is comment, right? You'll write comments for your queries also, right? What is this query doing about?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So similarly, if you want to document your code, proper documentation is needed. So we'll comment this lines. So to comment something Java, you have to use double forward slash. You just type this double forward slash, and you can say single line comment. If you want to comment a single line, then you have to use this double slash, and a shortcut for this is control plus forward slash for comment and uncomment. You see, I am toggling it. This is comment and now uncomment. Comment, uncomment. So if you want to comment or uncomment, then the shortcut is control plus forward slash. This is our shortcut. Okay. Now for multi-line comments. Okay. To have multi-line comments can be displayed by using this. Okay, if you want to write multi-lines, then you have to use this pattern, that is slash star and then star.
Same like SQL.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What
Yeah,
is
SQL have the same thing.
Okay. Star and slash. Okay. So if you have a multi-line comment, you have to use slash and star and slash. For if you want to use a single line comment, then double slash. For single line comment, shortcut for commenting and uncommenting. I mean, you can toggle between them using control plus forward slash. You see, uncomment. Now I can comment it. Control forward slash, the same code. Okay. But for multi-line comments, the shortcut is Control plus Shift plus forward slash. This is for commenting, okay? And then for uncommenting, Control plus Shift plus backward slash. This is for for multi-line comments, for commenting and uncommenting, there is a difference in syntax, but for single line comment, you can use the same shortcut. Control, select the code you want to comment, Control Shift forward slash. You see multi-line comment added automatically, right? I want to uncomment this, Control Shift backward slash. Got? Like this, okay?
So suppose where do I need to do that control shift? Okay, but how do I select the lines? Select and do that.
That's it.
Select all the
Yeah.
lines.
Whatever you want to comment, just select those lines.
Oh, okay.
On your keyboard, press Control Shift and forward slash to comment, Control Shift and backward slash to uncomment. Okay. Select it. Control Shift forward slash. That's all.
This is nice. I'll try and SQL this one.
Okay. Right. So, any questions till now? We are just done with the basics, how to create packages, how to create classes, what is a class, what is the main method, what will be executed, all those things. If you want to run the code, we can do it in two different ways. Suppose I want to run this class, just right click on this class, you will see run as, and then click on Java. Since we wrote a Java class, it is showing Java application. You can just click on this Java application, or the shortcut for this J. But just forget about the shortcut, we won't remember it anyway. It's just Java application. It will run. Or you see a run button in the top, green color one, play button. Just click on it, it will run the code. Okay, either from here or from here. From any place you can run. This is two ways that we can run our Java code. Okay. All right. Do I have anything else in this? Okay. Now let's. We have 5 more minutes before we go for your Q&A. Second is done. Let's go with working with Java is done. Now variables and data types. I think you must be already aware of what is variables, what is data type, right? If you are working with SQL.
Yeah. We don't need a deep discussion on, but we just want to know what are the data types in here, Java.
Okay, right. So you already know, right, what is data type and why we use data types?
Yeah.
Okay. Variables?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anji, Sharaf, you want to go again? You can say your opinion.
Yeah, just a little bit, Nikhil.
Okay.
So variables are used to store data. I need not explain to you because you are already well versed with those variables. And then data types, you might have we have almost similar data types which you have in SQL, but there might be a little difference. Okay, like if you want to store a string, you'll have varchar and varchar, right? But here you have strings. Okay, so in Java, we have 2 different data types. Okay, so these things, this is common thing. Every programming language will have data types, variables, and lists, and then conditional statements and iteration statements. We are going to learn them one by one. Okay. What is the purpose of any software is to transfer data. You might take any application. The core purpose will be transferring data. It might be a banking, it might be a social networking, it might be Zoom meeting. Right? See, we are connecting through Zoom, but what is the purpose of this Zoom? Transferring data from one place to another place. You are able to see my screen. If you are using Facebook, You can set your status, but why we are setting status? You just to share your information or happiness or sadness. That is nothing but information. Or if you are using your financial applications like bank applications, you're transferring amount from your account to other account. But what are we doing? Are we really transferring physical money? No, we're just transferring the information from our account to other account, right? So the purpose of every application, the underlying purpose of every software application or the intent of any software application is just to transfer data from one place to other place. But to transfer this data from one place to other place, we need to store in some things. Those some things are called as variables. I think you already aware of it. Okay, and we are storing it inside variables. Variable is nothing but a name that we assign for a value. Okay, so this x is a variable where it is holding the value 10. Okay. Now, one thing you have to remember is, or some basic things that you have to remember is, Java is case sensitive. That means uppercase letter and lowercase letter are treated differently in Java. Suppose, all right. Now, you see, I'm going to write this same system dot see, I am writing the same code. I'm writing the same code, system.out.println, system.out.println. But you see, this is not throwing any error, but this is throwing error. Right? Because this is starting with uppercase, starting with lowercase. Though it is same word, system and system, it is throwing an error because Java is case sensitive. Java will understand the uppercase letter as a different thing and lowercase letter as a different thing. So you should be very careful when you are declaring or when you are using those methods. That is why we follow some naming convention. Always classes start with uppercase letters. So anybody can, if you want to use these classes, you can start with uppercase. You see the main method is starting with lowercase. I also created a method add with the lowercase letter starting. So that is a naming convention for methods. It should start with lowercase letter so that everybody, if you want to create an object, this system is a class. You see a small circle and C, alphabet C inside it, which is a class inside java.lang package. So for all the classes, you have to use uppercase letter. Okay. So Java will understand it differently. Now you see println, small p. This println is a method. You see, println is taking some parameters and arguments. It should start with lowercase letter, but I started with uppercase letter. That is why it is treating them different. If I change it to small, now there is no error. You see. So Java is case sensitive. You should be careful when you are using some variables or any other things because Java is case sensitive. And Java is also a strongly typed language. That means we have to specify what type of value are we going to store inside that variable without mentioning at what type of value are we going to store inside it. Like in your SQL or in your ETL, when you want to add data into the columns, first you need to have a table. But to create a table, you should specify what type of value are you going to store in that column. Int, char, var, you are going to mention them, right? Date, time. Right. So while you are creating your table, if you want to have the columns created, then you should mention the type of value that you are going to store inside that column. Right. In a similar way, if you want to store a value inside a variable, then you should definitely mention what type of value are you going to store inside that variable. That is the meaning of strongly typed. What is loosely typed or what is not strongly typed language is VBScript. VBScript is one of the example and JavaScript is another example. Scripting languages are not strongly typed. If you deal with VBScript or JavaScript, you don't have to mention the data type. By default, it will have only single data type. You will store anything in the same data type. Okay, but in Java, it is strongly typed. whatever the value you are going to store, you have to mention the type that you want to store. Okay, and Java is also a tokenized language. A token is the smallest part of code. For example, system is a token. Okay, out is a token, println is a token, and whatever I wrote inside this might be a token, or welcome is a token. So everything inside Java will be understood by tokens. Okay, why would I say is, see, system dot out dot println, everything is in a single line. Now I can move it multiple lines. You see, is it throwing any error? There is no error. Still, it will be able to execute. Is it printing? The same. But this doesn't make any sense, right? If you are having the code written like this. Java is a tokenized language. It will understand everything as tokens. So this is one of the token. 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 But how does it understand? Like, for suppose if you want to make a word, you need to concatenate all the characters, or you need to concatenate the letters to create a word. In a similar way, to understand or Java to run the code, it will add all the tokens until it completes the statement. So how does it identify a statement? It identifies a statement using a semicolon. So semicolon is mandatory for every statement that you write. Without semicolon, Java will not understand it. Okay, let me reformat it. Okay, I'll just remove the semicolon. Observe, is it throwing an error now? You see there is a cross mark, and you also see that there is a cross mark on the class file name. What does it say? Syntax error, insert semicolon to complete block statements. If you want to complete this tokenized block statements, then you have to use semicolon here. Okay. So semicolon is mandatory to close a statement. And then Java is a tokenized language. You can write these spaces or going into the next line. Doesn't at all matter to Java. Still, it will understand what is the statement. Okay. Now I don't want to have my code like this, so I want to show it clearly and neatly. So I'll select everything, press Ctrl Shift and F. Okay. Here I added a new line, so that is what is marked. Yes, Bobby, go ahead.
But we are doing under braces, right? So if you are putting semicolon, means are you going to write another statement after the semicolon inside
Yes,
the?
we can write any.
Okay.
Our program will not have a single statement, right? We can
Correct.
have
But
any
in
number
a
statement.
SQL, yeah, in SQL, we once that semicolon we gave, it's a termination of that statement, correct? But here inside the class, we can write as many statements we want with a
Yes.
colon separate.
So if you want to compare this class with your SQL, actually we should not compare, but for you to understand, I'm telling you know stored procedures.
Yeah.
So stored procedures can have multiple statements, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So similarly, a class can have multiple statements.
Okay.
Stored procedures will execute multiple queries. In your class, you will execute multiple statements. There is no comparison, but I'm just giving this to make you understand.
Okay. Got it.
This is a single statement, like single select query, but you can have multiple statements inside a single class. Okay. All right. So we are left with last 10 minutes. If you have any questions, we can discuss on those. We can discuss on those parts. But if you don't have any questions, then we can continue with the data types and variables.
I have no questions. You can continue if Sharap and Angie doesn't have questions. Array, call out.
You can continue.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So now let us see. In Java, we have two different data types. One is primitive and the other one is reference data type. Okay, so we are dividing this data types into two. Just a second, I'm sharing. I'll share another. Okay, so Java has two things. One is, you are able to see my screen, right? Not the whiteboard.
Yes.
Primitive and a reference. So primitive data types are the default data types which are given by Java, and reference data types are some reference classes are also given by default by Java, but the basic difference between primitive and reference is, so for everything there should be some memory allocated in your system. Suppose if I'm creating a variable and I'm storing a value inside it, we need some memory, right? We need some memory to store this. For example, if you are installing a game in your mobile, you need some memory. There needs to be some storage available for your game to be installed, right, in your device. In the same way, all these primitive and references, whenever you create some variables, there will be some place that is RAM, temporary memory. We are not going to store it in a hard disk. So that is why this will be, these variables or the memory allocated will be under RAM, random access memory. You know what is RAM, right? So inside this RAM, so what does this primitive variables will do is, suppose if I create some variable int a, okay, int a is equals to 10, okay, then it will create, it will allocate a memory. Suppose this is allocated memory, and this will have an address. Suppose this address is 1, 2, 3, and then inside this address, whatever is the value, 10. So it will store this 10 here directly inside this variable. The value 10 will be stored. But whereas when we go to these reference variables, it will also allocate a memory. Okay, this is hash 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. For example, some address I'm giving 1, 2, 4, but this will not store the value directly. This is not going to have the value as 10, but it will store the address of the value stored. So where is A stored? In hashtag 1, 2, 3. So here it will store the value 1, 2, 3. So whenever you are using these reference variables, it is going to call out this address, and inside this it is pointing to some other address, that is 1, 2, 3, and it goes to this and then fetches the value from inside this. So you understood the difference between primitive and reference? Primitive means direct value. Reference means you are referring to some other address to fetch the value. Is that clear? Basic. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So now let me clear this. Now, in Java, we have 8 different data types. Okay. First one is byte. Next, short. Next, int. Then long. Byte, short, long. All these 4 will be used for numerics. All these 4 are used for numerics. You can store only numbers inside these 4 data types: byte, short, and long. Then if you are able to store only numbers, then why we have 4? Because the range matters. Byte, it has only 1 byte is equals to 8 bits. You know this basic conversion, right? 1 byte is equals to 8 bits of memory. 1 GB is equals to 1024 MB. 1 MB is equals to 1024 KB. So similarly, 1 KB is equals to 1024 bytes. 1 byte is equals to 8 bits. So this byte has a memory of 8 bits. Okay? Bits. So in the range of this 8 bits means you can have ones and zero binary numbers, ones and zeros up to 8. 8 ones and zeros. So with those 8 ones and zeros, the range that we can go on this is very less. We can store only up to 220 7, I think. Yeah, there is a range minus, plus or minus. Okay, there is a range, so you can, if you want to store the numbers which is less than 227, then you can store inside this file. If you want to go a little more and then store up to 32,000, then you can use short. If you want to use around 2 crore 14 lakhs, some 2 crore 14 lakhs, then you have to go with integer. If you don't know how much you want to go, if you want to store more than 10 crores, 15 crores, then you go with long. The range matters. Okay, all these are storing numerics, but the range differs. How do we calculate this range? Do you know, or do you want me to explain?
What is the question, Nikhil?
So you know how do we get this range, right? Do you know how do we get this range, or how is it being defined? That it's being defined, or do you want me to explain?
Maybe yes, I think.
Okay, so now you see.
So, Nikhil, in real time, does it gonna matter like which? I mean, like for longest, of course, we need to use long, right? So, if it's like, let's say, it can be fitted with the byte data type, then can we use instead of byte, we can use short integers long?
Okay, let me get this straight, or let me make you answer this question. Okay.
Mhm.
Suppose you have a mobile phone that needs to be transported from your location to me. I requested you to please place an order for a mobile phone because you are getting an offer, and then now you want to transport it to me. Okay, you have to courier it to me. You know the size of a mobile phone. So are you going to use a huge carton box or a small box?
Of course, small, yeah.
So, right, if you know the range that you are not going to cross to a number 200,
Mhm.
then you use byte. What happens if you use a larger size? For the mobile phone, if you use a huge carton box or cardboard box, what will happen? You are going to pay extra, and then it is going to occupy extra space, right, which is useless. That extra space is useless. You cannot use that extra space for any other packages, or you cannot use that extra space for any other purpose. It is just went useless, right? In a similar way, if you are sure that you are going to store a value which is less than 200, then why should we create long? Because this is also taking memory, right? In your cardboard box, it is having space, but here this long is going to have a memory. So if you are allocating some memory for long size, but you are storing a value which is less than 200, then the memory that you allocated is gone waste, right? Your RAM is of size only 2 GB or 4 GB or 8 GB or maximum up to 16 GB. But if you keep using long 100 times or 1000 times or n number of times, your RAM is going to fill with all the long variables. Right.
Yeah, Anji, to answer your question, suppose SSN number, we know that it's a nine letter number, right? A 9-digit number. For that, you don't need to give 200 space, right? So we can limit the space and the memory too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
got it, got it.
Same with the phone number. So that's it.
Okay. But I mean to say, like, it's not gonna throw error though, right?
No, it is not
It's
going
not
to
a, it's not a, it's a performance, right? You want to be effective developer, so you have to think the right way, right? It will take so much space, and you have dealing with the
Yeah.
millions of records in your real time, so that matters.
Okay, got it.
So I'm going to explain a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So 1 byte is equals to 8 bits, right? 1 byte will have the memory of 8 bits. So you know the binary calculation you might have learned long back in your engineering or in your degree. Right? 8 bits. How do we calculate these binary numbers, ones and zeros, right? To get the value of, suppose I have this. What is the value of this? If it is a binary number, what is the decimal number? Do you know how to convert this binary number to decimal number? What's the number? 2 power 0, 2 power 1. 2 power 0 is 0. There is no binary here. So that means 0. And 2 power 1, there is 1. That means 2 power 1 is there. So the value is 2 power 1 is 2. And then 2 power 0 value is 0. So that is 0. 2 plus 0 is equals to 2. So here 1 0. If you want to represent 1 0 in decimal, that will be 2. Or if you want to represent 2 in binary, then it will be 1 0. So how are we converting this binary? With the help of 2 power 0, 2 power 1, right? So we are going to do the same now. Okay, just 1 bit. 1 byte is equals to 8 bits. We are having 8 bits here. Okay, so we'll start. So this is 2 power 0 and this will be 2 power 7, right? 2 power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 2 power 0 till 2 power 7. This highest most bit will be used for signing, plus or minus, positive numbers and negative numbers. If you want to represent a negative or positive, we are going to use these numbers. And now you see here, at max, if I can create all ones, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 and 1. So that means from 2 power 6 till 2 power 0, every value is there. So what is 2 power 0? 2 power 0 is 1
1, yeah.
plus 2 power
1, 2,
2,
1, 2 plus 2 power 2,
4,
4,
2 power 3,
8,
8, 2 power 4, 16, 2 power 5, 32, 2 power 6,
64,
64. So 2 power 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you sum all of these things. 64, 60 plus 30, 90, 96, 106, 112, 120, 124, 126, 127. So this is 127. It can be from plus, or sorry, it will be plus or minus. But here, you see, minus will have 128 because 127 we have 0. 0 is neither positive nor negative, right? 0 is neither negative nor positive. So this byte can store 256 numbers, that is from minus 128 till minus 1 and 0 till 127. That is the meaning of this byte, 8 bits. This is how we are calculating this. Understood? From minus 128 to plus 127. So these are the 256 numbers that we can store inside a byte memory. Understood how are we getting this range for each item?
yeah,
Sarah, clear, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we have these numeric data types. Okay, byte, short, int, and long. Then we have these will store all whole numbers. There are no decimals inside this. You cannot store decimals inside this. To store decimals, we have float and double. Okay, float and double are used to store decimal values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, if you want to store alphabets, you have char, only single letter. A char can store a single letter, cannot store multiple letters. It will store only single letter. And then we have another one which is boolean. If you want to represent a true or false, then we use boolean. So these are the 8 primitive data types: byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, and boolean. So boolean is just to say true or false. So 1 bit is enough. So the memory for this is 1 bit. This is enough, right? If it is 1, true. If it is 0, false. That's it. So 1 bit is enough for boolean. If it is true, the binary value will be 1. If it is false, the binary value will be 0. That's enough, right, to represent a true or false. That is why 1 bit is enough. And char, I think it is 64 bit, because it has to convert your alphabets into numerics. 64 or 32, I'm not sure. What is this char? 16 bits only. Okay. So you see here, these are the memories. 1 byte is equals to 8 bits, which is from the range -128 to +127. And then short, we have 16 bits of memory allocated. The maximum range is approximately 32,000. There is some change, 32,400, some value. Okay, this can be calculated in the same manner. Oh, sorry. I think I'm not sharing my screen. Yeah. Now, are you able to see these memories? 1 byte, 8 bits, which can store values from ranging -128 to 127. Short, 16 bits, stores values from -32,000 to +32,000 approximately. And char is 16 bits. This can store single alphabet. It's not numbers, it will store alphabet. And then integer is having 32 bits of memory, which can store up to this maximum. There is some other range here. I don't remember the exact value, so that is why it's kept this as 240. 21 or something. Okay. And then long, we have 64 bits, which will go beyond this. And then float is 32 bits, where you have decimal values. Boolean is a single bit, which to represent true or false, and double, we have 64 bits. Okay. So this is introduction to the primitive data types, and introduction to the difference between primitive and reference data types. Okay. So tomorrow we'll create some variables with these primitive data types, and then we'll go for reference variables. Right? Clear? Right, everybody?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll just stop the recording.